Welcome to Demystifying the Metaphysical, here to help you find more compassion in your life. Did you know that our mouth and lips can tell us about our sensuality, generosity, ability to nurture, and appetite for not only food, but also for affection and information? So does your lips say that you're sensual or secretive? Let's find out. Starting with the fullness of the lips. When looking at the fullness of the lips, it needs to be compared to the fleshiness of the rest of the face. Looking at the person on the left with thin lips, her lips are consistent with the rest of her face, meaning the tip of her nose, cheeks, and jaws are structured and not padded. Turning to the person on the right, while her cheeks and jaws are a bit more padded than the person on the left, the fullness of her lips is a feature that stands out compared to the fleshiness of the other features on her face. For example, because of the fleshiness of her lips, we would expect the tip of her nose to be fleshy as well, but her nose tip is pointed like the person on the left. When a feature is not consistent with the other features on the face, in this case, full lips, the personality traits of that feature will be magnified. People with full lips are emotionally expressive, romantic, adventurous, and sensual. They don't mind and may even enjoy conversations about their personal feelings and thoughts. And they're also interested in caring and learning about other people's personal matters. They also enjoy the comforts of life through touch, taste, and smell. People with thin lips are emotionally reserved and introverted. They don't like sharing their personal feelings and thoughts with others. If they do share, it'll only be with people they trust. People with thin lips also tend to be more careful, proper, serious, and can at times be secretive. Taking a look at the width of the mouth. The best way to determine whether someone's mouth is narrow or wide is to draw an imaginary triangle from the center of the bridge of the nose, making sure that the vertical lines are to either side of the nostrils. If the lips reach the vertical lines, then the mouth is considered to be of average width. If they don't reach the lines, like what we see on the person on the left, the mouth is considered narrow. And if it reaches beyond the lines, then the mouth is considered wide. A person with a narrow mouth is practical, simple, and modest in the way they express themselves. They're not the type of people who knows everyone in town on a first-name basis. They prefer to have a few close and deep relationships. They may also have a harder time receiving than they do giving. People with wide mouths, like what we see on the person on the right, can talk to just about anyone, and usually they don't mind expressing themselves freely. They're very sociable, adventurous, popular, and could at times exaggerate a bit. People with wide mouths are very generous, not only with their time and energy, but also with their money. Let's take a look at the Cupid's bow, first by looking at the person on the left who doesn't have a Cupid's bow. Notice how there's no dip in the middle of her lip. Her upper lip is a smooth curve from one corner of the mouth to the other. Now let's take a look at the upper lip of the person in the middle where the blue arrow is pointing. Notice how the dip in her upper lip creates two peaks to either side of the curve. Sometimes the Cupid's bow is just a shallow dip with round, soft hills to either side of the curve, like what we see on the person on the right. Other times, the dip is very deep, creating two pointed peaks like what we see in the person in the middle. The more defined the Cupid's bow, the more emotionally sensitive the person will be. Not only does this make them very creative and expressive, but it also gives them the ability to be deeply moved by beautiful music and art. When you see a strong line in the middle of the lower lip, like what we see on the person on the left, where the blue arrow is pointing, this is a sign of a person with a great sense of humor. They're able to laugh at themselves and others. When the lips are pursed, like what we see on the person on the right, this could either mean that the person has very high expectations of themselves, or they tend to worry a lot. Now let's take a look at the line or curve that's created where the lips meet. It's best to see this trait when the person's mouth is relaxed. Starting with the person on the left, the way his lips meet creates a straight line. People with this type of meeting of the lips are logical, thoughtful, and meticulous. They're determined and enjoy learning new things. Moving to the person in the middle, her lips make a gentle upward curve. This is a sign of a person who is warm, friendly, and approachable. They enjoy making new connections. Looking at the person on the right, the way his lips meet creates a wavy line. This is a sign of a person who is charming and persuasive. They can be very eloquent with their words and enjoys being the center of attention. When looking at the corners of the mouth, it's also best to look at this trait when the mouth is relaxed and not smiling. When the corners of the mouth turn upwards like what we see on the person on the left, this shows that the person has a positive and optimistic outlook on life. It also suggests that the person is playful, lighthearted, and has a good sense of humor. Sometimes these people could also be a bit mischievous. Looking at the person on the right with a downward curved mouth, there are a few different interpretations for this trait. It could be that the person has recently experienced disappointment or frustration. Or it could be that the person is strong-willed and not easily influenced by others, or has difficulty expressing their emotions. Their communication style may also be somewhat reserved. Most people have a lower lip that is slightly fuller than the upper lip. When the lower lip is 2 to 3 times thicker than the upper lip, like what we see on the person on the left, this is a sign of a person who is persuasive, logical, objective, and factual in the way they communicate. They have a grounded approach to life, focusing on practical matters like work and finances. Sometimes there's the potential for overindulgence. When the upper lip is fuller than the lower lip, like what we see on the person on the right, these people are more comfortable speaking their minds and expressing their opinions. They go with their intuition, can be very convincing, and need a lot of excitement in their lives. Sometimes they could be a bit dramatic. When a person has a downward dip in the middle of their upper lip, like there's an extra piece of flesh hanging from their upper lip where the blue arrow is pointing. Similar to people with full upper lips, this person needs a lot of adventure and excitement in their life. Additionally, it may be hard to tell from their demeanor, but they are usually deeply passionate. They'll speak freely about anything, especially if it's in support of others. Sometimes their emotions can be quite strong. Looking at the profile of the mouth, we can tell if the lips protrude. If the upper lip protrudes like what we see on the person on the left, this is a sign of a person who is kind, understanding, and peaceful. They dislike confrontation, so at times they may find it hard to stand up for themselves. People with a protruding lower lip, like what we see in the person in the middle, don't mind standing up for themselves and others. They're independent and are comfortable being the leader. When both lips protrude, like what we see on the person on the right, this is a sign of a person who is bold. They're active, decisive, and quick thinking. Now let's take a look at how the mouth is held when a person's face is relaxed. If the lips are held tightly together, like what we see on the person on the left, this is a sign of a person with a lot of self-control. Looking at the person in the middle with her mouth held slightly open, this is a sign of a witty and clever person. A person who holds their mouth open, like the person on the right, is practical. Before looking at the asymmetry of the lips on these two people, a quick reminder from the Face Reading Basics video. If you haven't seen it, link on the top right. If you're right-handed, the right side of your face represents the self you show to the world, and the left side of your face represents your inner self. If you're left-handed, it'll be the reverse. Taking a look at the person on the left, his mouth is wider on the right side than it is on the left side. If we draw imaginary lines from the corner of his mouth up to his eyes, we can see that the right side reaches the center of the pupil, while the left side is just shy of the pupil. When the right side of the mouth is wider, it means that others see you, or you present yourself to others as being more generous and sensual than you feel inside. Moving to the person on the right. His lips are fuller on the left side than it is on the right side. This is a sign of hidden sensuality. Looking at the area above the upper lip on both people here. Notice how the person on the left doesn't have any vertical lines above her upper lip. When a person has vertical lines in this area, like what we see on the person on the right, it's a sign of overgiving. This person is likely to put others ahead of themselves. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to share, like, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.